Well, I had another epiphany today, another serendipity. I got so frustrated this afternoon. I kept reading comments from people my age that just want to be left alone. And yeah, I get that, but there's a time for courage. There's a season for everything. So to calm myself down, I thought I'm going to do a speech on being proactive versus reactive, because that's exactly what's happening. Being proactive means taking responsibility. Stephen Covey did the best session on being proactive. That was his number one habit. If it's to be, it's up to me. Right? I'm 70. I've been waiting for someone to come along and take responsibility for me so that I don't have to. And it ain't happened yet. I've even got a great husband. But that doesn't mean that I can shirk my responsibility for being proactive about who I am in this world. Otherwise, why are we here? So I began to look for clues on my desk about how could I help? How could I make a podcast that might be helpful and uplifting, but truthful and down to earth? As my granddaughter recently taught me, clear is care. I'm not always clear, especially with loved ones I've had a hard time, because I never want to hurt anyone's feelings that I love. I'm pretty easy to be clear with everyone else. But really, being clear is a gift to other people, letting them know how you feel, but more importantly, who you are, where your boundaries, what do you do well, what do you not, And would you go and buy even a vacuum cleaner or a lawnmower or a car and not take some time to know what it does and why it's better, or what some roadblocks might be to using it? Of course not. And that's such a very small investment when you think about the investment of our lives. We only get one time around. And so being proactive is the number one thing that Stephen Covey determined was important for healthy, effective living. And that was really what my little testy reel was all about, is taking responsibility and being proactive. The funny thing is, this serendipity came when I thought, okay, I'm going to go right to Covey because I taught it for years, and opened it up, and it all came back to me. And immediately, everything I've been studying was verified in this book. I could remember his exact words. He said that he was deeply immersed in research on perception, but also decided to do in-depth research on success literature in the United States since 1776. But then, after he did his initial study, he figured out that the success literature turned upside down about 50 years before he wrote the book. Now, he wrote the book in 89 or around there. And so 1940, 1939 is when the literature changed. And that's one of the things I've been looking for, right? And what he found was that prior to, like, the 40s, The wisdom was solid. It was based on principle and value. Like, for instance, know thyself. What's behind you and what's ahead of you are tiny matters compared with what? What's inside you. That was what all great men knew to be the absolute first requirement to effectively using who we are. But more than that, why would we offer ourselves to someone if we didn't have any clue of what we were offering them? Just doesn't make any sense. And you know it and I know it. So the most important thing is for us to know ourselves. And funny, all the greats said that except for Jesus. And I just am totally convinced that that was totally a scam. The whole New Testament to keep you a sheep so you wouldn't look at yourself, so you would think yourself unworthy. And I could go on, but let's not go there. So there was my other little serendipity of today. What happened? What happened that caused the literature to change? Now, here's some of the quotes that I just had on my desk. As a man believes in his heart, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. If it's up to be, if it's to be, it's up to me. Know thyself. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Whosoever shall know himself shall find it. Know thyself, and thou shalt know the universe and God, said Pythagoras. I can never say his name. The body is the house of God. Man, know thyself, and thou shalt know the gods, said Egyptian Gnostics. An unexamined life is not worth living. We know that we need to know who we are, and when we know who we are, we know what we have to give, and then we are very free and open to give it. I think that's the nature of people. One of my very top 5 lessons of my life has been a little thing that I learned actually in the 80s, and I looked up the word educare. And it's a Latin word, and what it means is to draw from within, not outside. Not to go to a library or to someone else and have them teach you about life, but to draw from in that well of life that's in you. The problem is, no one told us it was in there. Yeah, the Bible kind of threw you a little hint here and there, like Christ in you, the hope of glory, but for the most part, the good stuff was hidden from you. And for instance, we know that there are ways to control our minds and everything God gave us. The CIA knew it, but they hid it from everyone. And I'm trying to think, what is it called? The method. I studied it for a little while. I don't know. I'll bring it up. Anyway, it's an invaluable lesson about meditation and accessing our third eye, which I also recently found out that prayer should be like this because we're focused on our third eye. That was originally how it was meant to be. So education in the beginning was drawing from what was within us. That's really all we had to survive back then. How they did it, whoever knows. To come up with all the math quantizations and to know where the stars were, and oh my goodness, the calendars, the number system, the coding. Whew. But they didn't have cell phones to keep them busy, did they? or the internet. Maybe they did. They probably did have something. Hopefully they were more ahead of us and knew not to get bogged down in it. Or, I don't know, I'm not going to get off on that. Anyway, in the beginning, the Gnostics knew that the whole purpose of the Christos in the beginning was that anointing. So the Christos means the anointing that was in you, that is the hope of glory. And that's what we need to understand. If we want to, my favorite pastor, Uncle Arthur, told me once that I used to always say I know, and I still do, but I'm better. Because if I have learned something, I pretty much know it and I want to move on and learn something new. That's my focus. However, I know it's rude, but I usually do say, I know. He said that if you say I know, it means that you've had intercourse with that thing, that you've become one with it. There's no separation, that you're walking in the power of what you know. So there are very few times that I really know what I know. But I'm getting there. Sorry, I got interrupted for a minute.